from Tigerland. In any weather you will see us with a grin, risking head and skin. If we're behind then never mind, we'll fight and win, for we're from Tigerland. We never weak until the final siren's gone.
Good evening, Tigercast fans. Hope you're all doing well and welcome to a special, Friday night live. Now, what I usually do for tonight is usually done on a video. So we usually go back and rewatch the Adam Uze press conference from during the day and talk about the questions and the responses. But given the set of extraordinary circumstances where I was actually the one asking the questions for the entire press conference, I thought I would do a live on it because I'm sure there's probably some other questions to come my way as well. And I thought it would still be good to watch the press conference to actually talk about Uze's answers to the questions, because that's probably something I maybe didn't have a lot of time to digest because I was still trying to think of the next question to ask. So it would be good to go back and discuss the answers to said questions. But hope you're all doing well. Tiger, thank you. It was very, very good. It was extraordinarily lucky. Hey, Tuesday, very good. And firstly, straight off the bat, again, like I said on the post on the socials and whatnot, just a massive, massive thank you to the Richmond Football Club and Adam Uze for the chance to come down. It was an extraordinary morning, and the way it panned out was not what was planned. So yeah, it definitely went a little bit different. So on the way in, on the train in, as early as 8:30 odd this morning, the plan was to ask 2 or 3 questions just in and amongst the other journalist questions that were going to be happening like they do in these press conferences. And then when I turned up, there was no one else there to be seen from a media perspective, and it kind of dawned on all of us that no one may be turning up. And it was quite a bizarre day. That there was, I think, 3 or 4 clubs I've seen on other social media platforms that 3 or 4 other clubs also had no media representation there, which is quite odd. So I'm not sure if something happened in the media area where they just weren't able to get troops out into different parts of the Melbourne. But essentially that then just allowed me the opportunity to fire away and keep asking questions. So it wasn't planned to be one-on-one, but I'm forever grateful and was very appreciative of the opportunity to do so. It was crazy. It was crazy. And Uze is a good guy. Like, they're all having a laugh and a joke beforehand. You can definitely see the respect and the love and care they all have for each other between, players and coaching staff and whatnot. It was very, very evident and on display. So it was really good to see that, and was able to chat to Shane Dunn briefly as well. And he's a really, really nice guy. He was really interested in what I do. We're talking about the redevelopment and things like that. And went through to the property room afterwards and spoke to John, who's easily the best property steward in the AFL, who I do have a pre-existing work relationship with as well. So it was good to catch up with John and talk about some footballs and Sharons and things like that. But overall, just a very pinch yourself experience. And I was actually a little bit lost for words on the train on the way home. But so thankfully that didn't happen during the time I needed to speak. But again, thanks to the club. And look, hopefully it leads to bigger and better things. We'll have to wait and see what happens in that space. But I do want to say as well that the amount of support and the positive comments from everybody on all different socials has been unbelievable, and it means a lot. And I know the club have seen it and taken note of that as well. And I felt it went really well. And I think from what we sort of talked about after, the club felt it went really well too. And it could be a cool little new direction that we can have a nice venture in. But it was, it was really cool. And just for anyone wanting to know what it maybe looked like from my perspective, the club were actually really good enough to film me on my GoPro whilst I was asking the question, so I can piece together some type of video. So that's what it looked like from that angle. So that's just off to the side of Uze. As you can see in the background, I had some people waiting there for my autograph. I'm only joking. They were there for the players. But I have seen some comments of people who were at training that did see me, so they should have yelled out. But no, that's what it looked like from the other perspective of me asking the questions off to the side. So, and that's how we're here, because the microphone in hand there, which was good. And Richmond do that really well, not even just today, but in previous weeks too. The ability to actually hear the questions being asked. I know I've retweeted them a couple of times, commending them on how good it is, because at AFL post-game press conferences, as we all know, we often don't hear the questions being asked post-game, and we're kind of piecing together the question from the answer given by the coaches, which seems really backwards. So yeah, that's part of the video. So I'll put together a video over the coming days to mix and match it. But I don't want to be that big on the screen. I appreciate that, Hayden. And it was good, like coming from a Richmond perspective, I think that it's a different set of questions that Adam gets for the week. If you go back and listen to other press conferences, and we all know, we all say the same things every week, that the typical journalist press conferences, they aren't as deep into Richmond as what we are as supporters. So it was a different line of questioning, and I think everyone there was pretty wrapped with it. I was wrapped with it too, so it was it was really good. But I agree, James Racing, the no audio when it does have like that. We're in 2025, right? How AFL post games don't have the audio for the questions is astounding. But anyway, so what we're going to do though, I'm going to bring up the actual press conference, not from me, but I want to actually then talk about Uze's answers, because like I said, they were probably things that I didn't actually get a chance to digest and think about on the spot. So I want to go back and revisit that like we do for our weekly video anyway. So I'll bring that up, and keen to get everyone else's thoughts too, because we've got, I suppose, a set of Richmond-based questions this week. It probably gives us all a bit more meaningful discussion with relation to the answers. I know, James Racing, it's criminal, isn't it? I'll give him a thank you as well. All right, we'll get cracking. No sound. Really? Why would that be? That doesn't usually happen. Usually if we play stuff like that, it works because it's share screen. That's annoying. All right, well, we may have to scrap that then. That's kind of, I thought that would work. I don't know why that wouldn't work. Right, well, so the first question was obviously in relation to Taj Hotton and Seth Campbell and their midfield, I suppose their output in the midfield, winning the clearances. And that's kind of why I was harassing you a little bit last night, James Racing, with those stats. And yeah, it was good to hear that they obviously will be looking to trend that upwards, especially next year. We've obviously got one more game to get through, but just the data itself was quite fascinating to see that the numbers stack up with the amount of times they're winning centre clearance. And it's good to see that they're going to be progressing that further, which I think we all kind of were hoping for and knew anyway that it's going to be a natural progression into 2026. But good to hear that. I'm trying to work out why this won't play sound. Because if it's a screen share, surely. Let me play around with something here. No, that means... No, maybe it won't work. That's really disappointing. Anyway, the second part of it was in relation to, in particular, the VFL. So the VFL team, obviously, if they get past that wildcard phase and they, pardon me, play finals, will we look to get some permissions for someone like a Taj Hotton? After hearing the answer, it kind of felt like we might be less likely than likely to do it with Taj Hotton. I think the workload he's gone through and then the additional pressure of being finals, I didn't feel as convinced on Taj Hotton maybe doing it. I'd love to see him do it personally, and I'd completely back the club in if they do pull the trigger on him. But definitely still sounds like that Josh Smiley is working towards that based on that answer as well. And funnily enough, it's this week, this Geelong game actually tips about 2 or 3 other players over the threshold of AFL games you can play. So I think Noah Bolter, Morris Jr., and then maybe James Trezise as well, possibly. There's about 2 or 3 that's on 12 games currently, and that pushes them over into 13, which I think then disqualifies them from being able to play in the finals, which is a little bit disappointing. But it is what it is. But the VFL team is definitely getting some players back though, which is good. I appreciate that, Mark. Hawk team, welcome. Yes, I had a brief chat with Dion Prestia out the back. He was there looking at some footy jumpers, and I was talking to him about Sherrins, to be honest, because that's my line of work, and we're just talking about the training footballs and the game footballs and things like that. Which is good because it's something that is relevant to them with the tools that they use on a daily basis. So the other question about that I thought was really interesting was the Luke Trainer one. So we've obviously all discussed about Luke Trainer playing multiple positions, and I've probably said that I don't mind him on the wing. A lot of people probably prefer him in the back line. And then Uze himself confirmed that they really see him playing his best football in the back line. But it really is a credit to Luke Trainer being able to play in multiple positions and have a great impact at a high level. And just shows how good his footy IQ is. So I think he's definitely a player that the club are very, very excited about. Just going through other questions here. Noah Bolton one, yeah. It was interesting because it was kind of a multi-layered question. Firstly, I wanted to acknowledge Josh Gibcus and his return to football after 2 years. It's an incredible journey for him, and he's obviously going to be thrilled to be back out on the park. But honestly, for a long time, we've all discussed it. Like, how does it look when Bolter, Miller, Young, and Gibcus are all on the same side? How does it function, and what does it look like? And it was really interesting to hear Gibcus. So it was interesting to hear Uze sort of start then talking about the competition for spots, which is true, and he's bang on that. When a team has competition for spots, that only leads to good things because everyone's pushing each other to get better and to play to a high standard more consistently. So maybe we won't see them all in the side at the same time all the time. I guess it could be horses for courses. I think this week it works because Vlosten's out. I guess from a 2026 perspective, I'm still trying to work out how does it look when Vlosten's back in and what that all looks like. But it sounds like there might be some limited spots in the back line or in other parts of the ground, or maybe Bolter stays redeployed. But as Uze said, he definitely loves Bolter as a defender with the traits that he possesses. And I actually timed that question very well because Noah actually was walking past behind us as I said it. So he seems to enjoy the defensive side of the game, which was good. The tagging question I thought was a really good answer, and I'm not sure if he answered it in this way in previous weeks when asked at post game. But when I sort of mentioned about Max Holmes and Bailey Smith, and if we would deploy like a Jack Ross, so answering that it's, at the moment they're trying to use those midfield minutes for learnings for your Seth Campbells and your Taj Hottons. I'm like, it's a really good way to answer it because it does answer, I guess, a lot of our questions that we can't have our cake and eat it too in a lot of ways. We can't tag players we want to necessarily tag, but we then can't also want midfield minutes given to X player X, Y, and Z. Like, it can't all happen at the same time. So I guess I can appreciate them wanting to focus on getting some minutes into the younger kids and just learn that way. It'd be interesting to see what happens if Bailey or Max Holmes do start to get a fair bit of the ball. Yeah, the Gibcus one, it's going to be fascinating. I think, like I said, this week it seems to work, but whether it works next week or not will be a different story, I guess. I probably only saw him very briefly. I caught a bit of the training for about 5 or 10 minutes beforehand, and yeah, they're all looking good. They were very much up and about, very jovial. Bolter kicked a really nice banana goal from the boundary line at one point, which was good. So they're looking very, very upbeat. But spewing that video hasn't worked when playing it through here. It's very, very annoying. But no, if anyone has any other questions about it or about some of the answers, let us know. I don't know. I didn't notice. I couldn't give an honest answer on that either way, to be honest. So I was kind of trying to plan things out in my mind and take photos of stuff and videos of stuff, and I didn't see him, but I'm not saying that he wasn't out there either. He definitely could have been. We'll have to. I might try and revisit a photo or two and see if he was out there. But no, it was good, and hopefully it can lead to a few extra things down the track. What were the other questions we asked in relation to the Geelong game? I guess just the messaging, and it's just putting up. They obviously want to respond a bit, don't they, from their performance last week? Send off Camden Macintosh. And I like that we obviously saw Camden's farewell message and how he sort of identified himself as a role player. And it was really good for Uze to say, well, no, he's not just a role player. Like, he's a master at what he does, and talking about that wing role that we've all seen and acknowledged that Camden's owned for quite some time and done a really good job. So that was really good to hear him sort of come out and back Camden in like that too. So I reckon that Camden will end up somewhere next year. Just not sure where. I know, Hawk Team. I'm not sure either. It's going to be fascinating to see if we can fit all of them in. Not so much afterwards, Andrew, because I think straight after must be a meeting. I'm going to guess it's this. I don't know whether it's the final team selection or what it is, but he did have to scoot straight away. Admittingly, I probably had that go a little bit longer than maybe what they usually do. I think they usually average about 7 minutes. I was probably getting a bit carried away in a good way. But beforehand, we're having a chat, got introduced to Tim Livingston as well, and just sort of chatting to them about what I do, what I'm there for today. And it's good because, it's a good chance for them to sort of interact with fans and pick our brains a bit as well on what questions were on everybody's mind. Because I had mentioned we did the live to get some ideas on questions. It was interesting. It was good. And that's the hope, right? Being able to know more about Richmond, I feel like it gives us a chance to ask more accurate questions than what maybe normal journalists would ask. And I think the club appreciated it, and I think Uze hopefully appreciated it as well. Something a little bit different, a bit more refreshing. It was good to see him sort of beaming ear to ear when talking about players like Smiley as well and Taj Hotton. You can see and feel how excited the club are about these kids, especially Smiley with all the shit he's been through. And hopefully he plays some VFL later in the year, but you can tell they're definitely keen to redeploy him or to get him out there next year and see what he's got. I think he's going to be a special talent. I'm backing him in. Yeah, I think so too, Jones Racing. I think that's that navicular injury as well. That throws a big spanner in the works with Tom Sims, doesn't it? Like they're shit and prickly injuries to manage. But I've got no issue with Bolter being a forward ruck next year. I think it really suits him. Just that chaotic type footballer. I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all. No Windows. I don't want to restart my PC yet. Bolter, he might have had as much facial hair as I did. I reckon a small beard. I think he always rocks a small beard, doesn't he, Noah Bolter? It is. It's an absolute shit one, the navicular. So hopefully I can get that right. No one finished me up. No, after I asked the last question, I didn't have anything ready to go there and then, and then it kind of just wrapped up. So I may have got the tap on the shoulder not long after because it was encroaching onto 9 to 10 minutes, which I think is quite long for those ones. But no, I appreciate they were happy to let me go and just keep firing away questions. Because like I said, I only went there with 3 or 4 written down as per what the plan was going to be. So once I started sort of thinking and firing ones off the fly, they just kind of kept coming out, which was good. But well, I apologize that the video piece didn't work for that one. I really thought I was going to be able to play it in the background. It looks like I'll have to do it the old school way of a pre-recorded one, but that's okay. We'll get that done. Yeah, it could be a wingman too. Like I think we mentioned this last week, Rational. The Dan Curtin type role. I think there's a lot of interest from supporters to see that. Geez, I'm struggling now. Kids did not go. It's book week at schools this week, and today was their chance to dress up as their favorite characters. So I didn't want, and they were pumped and looking forward to that for so long. If they didn't have that on, I would have taken the older one out. No, I don't think there was anything. No, I was pretty happy with what was asked and what was answered. I don't think there was anything else that I thought of afterwards. I mean, there's a lot of other questions I'd love to ask, but I also acknowledge that particular time and place wasn't the right one for it, not the right platform. And maybe something pops up where that right platform does become an option to ask some further questions, hopefully. No, in terms of, I was starting to worry at one point. I'm like, I've got to start talking about the game. Like, I've asked about all these other plays, but we've got to talk about the upcoming game, of course. So maybe if I was to pick anything, I maybe wish I had have had another question or two prepared up my sleeve in relation to the game, because I don't think I covered that as well as maybe what they usually would. But we got one or two in there, I guess, which was good. I appreciate that, Lettuce. No, I thought it'd come out. I thought it'd come out all right. Yeah, I know. It's quite funny that people thought I just pushed aside a heap of people to just take over, didn't they? Oh, this is interesting. A Magpie supporter at work said to you that Taj will be every bit as good as Nick Dacos. Wouldn't that be something rational? I mean, you don't want to heap pressure on the kid early. My goodness. I can see and understand that comment, though. Like last week, for example, he only played about 60-65% game time and still had 15 odd touches and a pretty prolific impact. And he's in the last 5 weeks, he's the number one player for us in terms of centre bounce clearance conversions at 33%, I think it was roughly, which is huge. I know he's getting less CBAs than other players, but he's making it count when he's in there. And I feel like that's only going to keep going up. The older he gets and the more experience he gets. And like we've said a couple of times about a lot of our draftees, this year is arguably the worst we're going to see of them. And that's the scary part for everybody else, I think. And he's not had a full preseason yet either, Taj. So there's like so much upside to what he's going to do next year. And we're already thrilled and excited for what we saw of him this year. It's going to be a fascinating 2026 to see how some of these kids kick on. Riley, welcome. Hope you're doing well, mate. How are we going to fit them all in, Hawk Tim? I really don't know. What's happening in the Pies game? What's going on there? Are they potentially losing? I reckon they are a bit of a doozy, Jones Racing, those CBA stats. I thought they were fascinating. Not as fascinating as coughing all the time. Jesus, I apologize. Yeah, should have chucked it out there at the end. No, look, I didn't. Hopefully things will evolve and something happens. I think it's a really good chance for the club and I, being like a fan base show, to create a really cool new looking landscape with the way things can work and sort of connect fans and clubs a bit closer together. That's kind of what I see, a role that I could help play in that space. And hopefully it all went well from their perspective, and we'll just have to see where it takes us. Oh, wow. Interesting. Pies 57, D71. Holy shit. That's huge. Not good for my footy tips, but that's huge. Appreciate it, Big Charles. Taj equals Dacos, Sammy equals Dusty, Josh Bont. I think that's the logic, though. I really do think that that's the sound logic behind some of the selections. And that was the beauty of having the 8 picks, that we could kind of be a bit more adventurous and take a couple of risks, if you want to call it risks. But no, it's going to be a midfield that's going to give us plenty of joy, no doubt, in the coming years. Collie wobbles. It's happening. All right, well, I might wrap that up because this hasn't worked how I had hoped. I apologize. I really thought that by playing the video, you would get the audio so we could listen to Uze's answers and talk about it, but that hasn't worked how I'd wanted, which is a little bit frustrating. So it came about. So I'd been in contact with the club for a few months now. I want to give a shout out as well to Kiwi Tiger. For those of you who are on Big Footy, you'll know that username. If you're not on Big Footy, Andrew Sloman, who's on Twitter, you might be familiar with his pre-season reports when they go on their yearly trip. He'll often be like the correspondent writing articles every day. So we've obviously known Kiwi through Big Footy for quite a number of years. We've met him a couple of times, like sponsor dinners and stuff like that. And we were helping him out with something a little while ago. And building a relationship with the club has been something that's been on my mind for a while. I just hadn't quite known where to start or how to sort of get the ball rolling. I just didn't have the right names or contacts to make it happen. And so I just messaged Kiwi and I said, look, this is what I'm really wanting to try and build a relationship with the club. If you think that's reasonable and okay, I'd love you to be able to point me in the right direction. And then he just looped me in with someone at the club, like Nikki, who's in the communications and social media. And we've been kind of emailing back and forth, trying to work out a time to catch up. It's been tricky. Like I've gone away for a couple of weeks. They've obviously got some interstate games, and the stars finally aligned for this week to be able to catch up in the last round, which was awesome. And the press conference bit actually didn't really happen until the day before. So I was just emailing to confirm the time to catch up. And they just come back and said, would you be keen to ask a couple of questions at the press conference? And I was like, oh, that's an amazing opportunity. Absolutely. And then it obviously eventuated a bit further this morning when the journos didn't rock up and gave me a one-on-one, which is an unbelievable opportunity. And hopefully I made the most of it. I think I did. I think I did well at it. But that's how it all come about. So I'm looking forward to, definitely deepening the connection and the relationship with the club. I think, fan base shows definitely have got something to offer, I think, in this space. And I do want to say as well, because you hear some mixed stories from I've heard some mixed stories from other fan-based podcasts on their experience when it comes to Clubland. Everyone at the football club, honestly, could not have made me feel more welcome if they tried. I think that's what made doing that today so much easier, is how warm and how welcome everybody was, how polite they were, interested, asking questions, chatting. Like, you just felt at ease straight away. And I couldn't be any more thankful and appreciative to the club for the way they went about that. It was really good. Hey, how are you, Grok? That was awesome. We've come a long way since 2017, haven't we? Come a long way. Yeah, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. So, and Kiwi Tiger is a ripper. I said I've got to owe him a beer next time. So, but given that my voice is about to give out, not great timing. And again, I apologize that the video piece didn't work. I'll chuck this up again just in case there's anyone new here watching. That's what it looked like from the other perspective. I was lucky enough that the club were kind enough to film me on my GoPro so I could have some footage and try and match it all up in a video. Yeah, there was a couple of clubs. I think the Bulldogs might have been another one, Noel. A really bizarre set of circumstances, to be honest. I don't quite understand how that's not happened, to be totally truthful. But lucky for me. So anyway, that's going to be a wrap for tonight. I'm going to the game tomorrow, so if you do see us at the game, feel free to say g'day. And hopefully we put up a good four-quarter effort. And look, if the D's are doing well tonight, stranger things can happen. Stranger things can happen in the last game. So hopefully we can just leave no stone unturned, throw the kitchen sink, and cause a bit of a scare or an upset would be lovely. Absolutely, Grok. Very, very, very much looking forward to that. But anyway, have a wonderful night, everybody. Thank you again for tuning in. I apologize that this was maybe a little bit wish-washy. It didn't actually pan out how I thought it was going to, with the audio side of things. But good to chat to you all nonetheless and answer some questions. That's a good point about the NAS news. You would have thought they would have been loaded there. That's a really good point. Yeah, astonishing stuff. But have a wonderful night, everybody, and I will speak to you all soon. We're back Monday night for the live show, 8:30 p.m. Bit of a season wrap-up, and I think we're doing a season wrap-up with Tiggs on the Wednesday as well, and he's going to he's going to get permission to release some other names, which will be good. And, then we'll just see whatever happens from there. Okay, the other thing I'll tell you all, and this isn't so much Richmond-based, it's more AFL-based, but you will see a live from this channel happening during finals. So we're actually working on a collab with 3 other fan-based podcast shows. We're going to do a big joint finals preview each week and some live shows on finals as well as one big group of 4, which would be kind of cool. So we're just working out the name and what that's all going to look like, but we'll do that in the first week of finals. So if anyone who's just wanting to watch football stuff, that's, I know that we won't be involved in it as Richmond, but we'll do some footy finals lives anyway. So keep an eye for that too in the first week of finals. But have a wonderful night, folks. I might go and watch the last few minutes of this Collingwood and Melbourne game. And until next time, until Monday night, go Tigers.